Hello and welcome to the Bedpost Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Erin Pym. Here at the podcast, I like to interview guests and performers from my stage show Bedpost that I run here in Toronto and beyond into this studio to indulge me in a more in-depth conversation about sex and sexuality. This week, I have two special guests, burlesque performers and clown performers. They're members of the troupe Clowns Kill Empires. We have Pickles, LaVey, and Imogen Quest.
Hi.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
I'm so excited to have two of you here. It's kind of exciting.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
It's such a colorful room.
It is. Yeah. You both, I think we all look very like springy
It's
and
like the only room we could blend into the wall.
Yeah, that
yeah, exactly. It's just like, yeah, red locker. Yes. Bright colors everywhere. I feel like though I get like always with you two, I get like very bright energy, and like this just our outfits, all our whole situation visually here today just like matches your souls.
It is a visual spectrum. Just for people listening that aren't able to watch, it's a visual spectrum.
There's some visual things happening right now.
Magic.
And the visual is magic. And how I kind of came to know both of you was through the Bedpost stage show.
Yes.
As sometimes happens with the podcast, I'll perform with you on stage and then bring you into the studs. So let's talk just briefly about the actual performance that you did at Bedpost, maybe individually.
Sure.
Imogen, you did a drag performance.
Yes.
Your drag persona, Sydney Quest, came out to play.
Yes, that is true.
On a certain Bedpost. Tell me a little bit about that.
That was nice. I don't get as many opportunities to perform male drag as I do some of the other stuff that I do. So your show was really great because you were like, do whatever. And I was like, amazing. So
yeah,
because
you were like, do you want clown? Do you want burlesque? Do you want
I
drag?
can
Do you want do you want circus? Do you want And I was
Here
like,
are all these options. Yeah. But I'm really like precious about my drag, and so I don't get to do it very often. It mostly shows up in acting roles. So I do most of my drag shows up with High Society Cabaret and their stage productions. So it was nice to get like a cabaret slot to do it. Yeah, because I really like, for my drag, it's my way. I take all of my ideas about masculinity and how it's presented in the world, and I process them, and what I see that I like and what I see that I don't like, what I would like to see, and I'm able to take that and push it out into Sydney Quest and create what are, I'm told, very moving and emotional performances.
yes, no, truly, because I don't know if this was exactly your words or not about the type of male drag that you like to do, but you were kind of saying to me that a lot of male drag performs this kind of like hyper male masculinity, like chin strap male drag that's very dudely.
There is, it's funny because there's such a wide spectrum of drag, but I do see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes I wonder if like a female identified performer, if like dressing up as a man for the first time, sometimes a lot of the toxicity that you've experienced, I'm wondering if a lot of performers use their drag as a way to channel a lot of things that have frustrated them.
Yes, interesting.
And I've wondered, because especially when you're watching performers evolve over time.
Yeah.
Into these very interesting, nuanced, wonderful characters.
Yeah, because your performance was an emotional performance, right? It wasn't that stereotypical male presentation. It was like a ballad you performed, a very emotional love ballad.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a very unique thing to see in male drag.
I think so. There's lots of opportunities. What's really nice is there is a monthly in Toronto called Kings and Classics.
Yes.
It's a wonderful show that's exclusively dedicated to fostering the drag king scene in Toronto. So what's amazing about that is bringing all of these kings together has allowed us to sort of congregate and share ideas and bounce off each other, which has been creating like this really interesting evolution and uprising in the drag community here with the kings, I find.
Yeah.
Super lovely.
What's the word on the street as far as drag kings go? Like what's happening in that kind of culture in Toronto right now?
A lot of really exciting things. There were some kings featured. There was some great stuff on CBC recently that featured drag kings and queens across the city. Kings and Classics has been a really successful monthly, and they've been branching out and doing shows in cities outside of town, and they're going to be a big part of the Fierce Queer Burlesque Festival that's coming up, as well as Toronto Pride. And there's just been like an increased visibility, as well as kings in other cabaret shows and evening settings as well.
That's amazing. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they think drag queens, people just think drag queens, and I don't feel like there's a lot of visibility for people performing male drag.
It's true, and like I can't say
where's our RuPaul's Drag Race? Where's the male drag version of
there
RuPaul's
has been a massive demand for that, and like hopefully it would be super cool, like the way that like America's Next Top Model, after many seasons of only doing female models, like did a male season eventually and started adding more. So like there might be somewhere down the pipeline, like somebody could just do it on YouTube though, and just create like a bunch of kings to do a reality. And I'm sure there's definitely people out there trying to do it. It's just money,
a matter of seeing it when it's going to happen.
So I feel it's
soon.
just hopefully soon.
And Pickles, your performance that you did at Bedpost, you did a couple. You did one with fire. And then you did another one with stapling.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about those for us? Let's go with fire first. How do you do fire?
How do you? I don't know. That's actually, I started with fire. Fire is like the first thing I started doing like 10 years ago. And it just kind of like eventually like built up to adding all these other skills, like stapling things to your body. Skills.
That's a skill.
Yeah. A skill, an important skill. Or like putting things in your nasal cavity for entertainment,
Yeah.
Like more important skills. But I don't know. I feel like my deal with all that sideshow stuff is just like I feel the same with burlesque as I do about sexuality stuff. I feel like there's just so much, you see so much trying to be like beautiful or animal or like stuff like that. And I want it to be beautiful and animal sometimes, but then sometimes I want it to be disgusting. And sometimes I want it to be hilarious, and I want to laugh, and I want to gross you out, and I want all of that, and it all to be mixed up and all have its time and place, and maybe be surprising. And
I feel like a common hashtag that you use is freaklesque. Is that one
I use queerlesque.
Queerlesque, freaklesque, yeah.
And I use keep planet Earth and keep burlesque weird.
Keep burlesque weird. Yeah. Totally. So weirdness is like you're really drawn to that aesthetic.
Yeah, absurdity.
Yeah. Where did like playing with fire? How did you start playing with fire? Like,
I was going to school for like, well, it was international development when I was in college, and like urban studies and women's studies and stuff, and it was just the saddest. It was the saddest all the time. I was crying. I was like trying to be like, man, I want to do nice by the world. But like, it's so sad. And then, so I started doing circus stuff on the side, and it made me feel better and more balanced. And then the circus stuff took more over. I know that sounds bad, but like that's what's become like the main dedication. And
what types of things did you start doing when you first started circus?
Like flow toys, like hula hooping and poi and contact juggling. And then eventually I was doing it so much that people started, like I started going to like the fire nights at the park in Winnipeg where I was living, and people started handing me fire toys and being like, do this, you're good at it. And then, I smucked myself in the face with fire the first time, and I was like, oh, nothing happened. Okay.
I didn't die.
I'm
not flammable.
My eyebrows
are
still
is,
there. I have burned them off in the later years accidentally, but I didn't that time. And so I felt some, extra confidence, and it kind of like, I'm so shy and awkward, and it kind of like lit up something confidence.
Within you.
Yeah,
it lit up.
Yeah, literally. It lit up.
And
I became more confident, and I always called it like the demon. Like I'd get the fire stuff and like something would open up, and I'd kind of like leave myself and like become some like other part of my identity that I hadn't really chimed into before.
Very interesting.
Yeah. It doesn't come around as much, the Beast, now though.
The Beast? You haven't seen the Beast in a while?
Yeah, no. Now I'm just kind of like, can just do it. I can just kind of chime into that confidence without having to be like overcome but
Yeah, because you have more experience
Yeah.
with the control of
the beast.
the emotions and
Yeah.
whatever's happening inside you at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, you develop like more control over it.
Yeah, no, it was helpful though.
And then where from there I feel like going to like stapling things to yourself, I feel like that's a jump.
Yeah.
That's kind of like now it's a pain thing. Like it's a little different than just juggling fire, for example.
Well, when I started, I was doing on stage piercing.
Ooh.
So it's kind of like going back to my roots with the stapling. Like, we used to have these shows. It was like a zombie sideshow thing again in Winnipeg, and
That freaky Winnipeg.
freaky Winnipeg. I know. But yeah, we'd do call outs. Like we'd get audience members to like call out a part of my body, and we'd pierce it.
So pierce like what, for example?
Like
what
finger
are we talking
webbing
about?
or back or neck.
Putting what through it?
Needles.
A needle
Like
through your
piercing
finger
needles.
webbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or your back, like just a piece of skin on your
Yeah,
back.
cheeks, like
Ooh, on your
stuff.
face?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
So anytime I've seen like, okay, so piercing. So anytime I've seen like hooks in a back,
Yeah.
you know, that type of a thing. Trigger warning, by the way. I don't think a trigger warning is a thing you can give after the fact, but people being like hung by hooks and
Yeah.
like that, it's in that world.
No, and you get a endorphin boost. You get a little
Yeah.
pleasure from it, I think.
Yeah, do you think that, like what
I do.
what
I get
happens?
I get
yeah.
high from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel pain? Does it hurt? Would you
Yeah,
characterize
but
it as
It
painful?
No, it doesn't even hurt because of the endorphins. Like I feel like anytime I've done like piercing or stapling on stage, it doesn't. I don't really feel it. Like it feels kind of powerful, and I'm a bit of a sadomasochist, so like
I would.
I'm-
That was my next question.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It just feels great because you just have this excitement, and like there's also like some kind of pleasure out of like watching the audience and seeing them like
Their
doing
reactions,
this.
they're
Like,
like,
no, and like, yeah, my first show ever, 10 years ago. This like, you know, really masculine broy guy fainted.
A dude fainted.
Dude fainted.
Love
Yeah, he just
that.
went down. He took down some of our decorations in the audience, and we're like, "Whoa!"
Grasped at
we
various
didn't.
things
Yeah,
on the wall.
we didn't know about
Took it
trigger
all
warnings
down.
then either. Like that.
Yes.
We didn't have that language for ourselves.
Yeah, I had someone pass out in my show when we were just talking about trigger warning. Did it right that time. When we were
Yeah.
talking about urethral sounding.
Right.
Had somebody pass out, a male a penis owner
The owner of
pass
the penis.
out. It was just like, because we had kind of an explicit, there wasn't like an explicit demo happening on stage, but
Right.
very explicit, specific talk about urethral sounding, which for
Cool.
people don't know is like inserting things up the urethra, which either men or women can do. But the specific talk was on like penetrating a penis, and this dude just like, and he like, yeah, like beers on the table. You just like swept. Like all the beers off the table. It was like, okay, and the show, yep. Trigger warnings, very important.
You did one before I went on at your show.
I did, yes. I do try to definitely do that, especially like you know, emotional stuff about assault and stuff like that is very important
Of course.
to talk about beforehand.